right, good afternoon. Welcome to When Worlds Collide. Aliens exist. They're visiting planet Earth. If you got trouble with that statement, you're in the wrong room. I think you might be looking for when governments decide. I thought I may have seen some of them out by the pool. Do a little homework, come back to join us. We'll be waiting. So a first few principles. Bear with me, we got some new blood coming in. So the observable universe is at least 14 billion years old. It contains as many as 2 trillion galaxies, and overall more stars than grains of sand on planet Earth. I can't wrap my mind around that. NASA says that every 5th star may have something like an Earth-like planet. Not necessarily hospitable to life, but you get the picture. I'm not saying aliens are from other planets, we don't know, but 40 billion Earth-sized planets could be out there in the universe. And there's no moat around the Milky Way. Interstellar travel means intergalactic travel, not at light speed, but much, much faster. And why do I say that? Because from light's point of view, which is the science philosopher Peter Russell's says that's the only way to truly look at light. From light's point of view, there is no time and no distance between the point of emission and the point of absorption. That's general relativity, right? Time stops at the speed of light. It's only from a human perspective that a photon would take 100,000 years to cross the Milky Way. And the only thing preventing us from traveling at the speed of light, or the speed of now, is a little thing called mass and gravity. As soon as we learn to unhook mass from gravity, the universe is our oyster. What will we find? In 2013, Jacques Vallée estimated that there was something like 3 million UFO landing cases in just a 20-year period on Earth, one planet. So aliens exist, they're visiting Earth, they're here for a reason, probably a whole lot of reasons. What prevents us from truly accepting this reality is nothing but propaganda, otherwise known as Western civilization. No matter what you believe in, Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, atheism, scientism, physicalism, materialism, idealism, any and all isms are all one thing: thought prisons. All of those constructs distort our reality. It's human nature. A little light shines through the bars of each one of these thought prisons, but each one constrains that light and distorts it until all we see are shadows on the wall. So how's that working out for us? The pace of change in the modern era is unprecedented. It took 200,000 years for the human population to reach 1 billion people. It took 200 years for the world to reach its current population of 8. That's 1/1000th of the time. While our population increased by a factor of 7, energy consumption grew by a factor of 25, and consumption ballooned by 100-fold. This represents the single most anomalous period in all of human history. Yeah, they're having fun. As Dane Wigington says in his Geoengineering Watch weekly bad news broadcast, one of my favorites, you can find it on YouTube, quote, "Homo sapiens are currently approaching the peak of the plague phase in a one-off global population cycle and will crash because of depleted resources, habitat deterioration, and psychosocial feedback, including the coming probable nuclear wars over remaining resources. Mad Max on a global scale is already unfolding, but only in facing the oncoming storm do we stand any chance of anyone making it through what is coming." Wigington goes on, "If there is any intelligent life in the universe and they're watching this self-annihilating behavior of the human race and the controller's scripted political circus of the absurd constantly streaming on matrix media, would they not likely conclude that the human race is definitely doomed?" End quote. And I believe we're on the verge of not one but 2 major collisions The first is happening right under our noses as those in power scramble to regain control of the masses who are better informed now than every other generation combined. And that's why we're seeing this new censorship regime wrestle with an information avalanche, exposing the inner workings of a rotting infrastructure. At the very same time, our civilization is waking up to another reality, which exists at the liminal spaces, at the edges of our perception. Most people under 30 take UFOs for granted these days, which is refreshing, but it's also a little disconcerting. As one Gen Zer put it, yeah, but will they pay my rent? So as Dan said, my name's Thomas Jane. I'm a popcorn salesman by day, and by night, I'm a xenologist. Xeno for stranger or alien. I study the relationship between humanity and visiting aliens. This isn't just a hobby for me on par with reading science fiction novels on the weekend. I really do believe that aliens are integral to the survival of the human species. So I signed myself to studying this topic, like most of you, for the past 15 years. That led to me writing a book. I call it A Human's Guide to Visiting Aliens. I'm editing that now, and I'm truly honored to be speaking here today. I don't know if I'll ever get another chance. I got a lot to say. So let's get it on. It's been a long time since somebody said that to me. And it's the end of the world as we know it, folks. And I couldn't think of a finer group of humans to spend it with, the UFO community. We need more of us in the world now, more than ever. People are waking up. We're starting to come together, and not a moment too soon, for worlds are about to collide. So you might notice I'm calling these modern things seen in the sky UFO. Call them whatever you like, UFO, UAP, you do you, man. I'll stick with UFO. Why? To preserve the lineage of the pioneers of ufology that came before us. I ask you to J. Allen Hynek study UAP. Stanton Friedman, Frank Edwards, Donald Kehoe, Dr. James McDonald, Amy Michelle, Jacques Vallée, Wendell Stevens, Bob Dean, Jem and Coral Lorenzen, Leonard Stringfield, so many. And that's not even mentioning the abduction researchers. Ann Druffel, who remembers her? John Carpenter, Barbara Lamb, Raymond Fowler, Hopkins, Mac, Jacobs, the list goes on and on. So out there they can argue whether UAP or Russian or Chinese. We know what they are, thanks to the people who came before us. Now we want to know why. We want to know who are they. We want to know why they've been here for 80 years. Why are they so elusive? Could aliens help us to learn to survive what Carl Sagan called our technological adolescence and become a sustainable civilization? Are they here to help us or hurt us or something else? Why do aliens want us to know they're here? We have some new clues, I think, to some of these fundamental questions about aliens. So I think it's time to start exploring the hard problems of ufology. June 23rd, 1976, São Paulo, Brazil. Paulo Cino was walking home from night school late one evening and literally abducted right off the street. Paulo would be missing for 20 hours. His parents were frantic. They called the police. Neighbors were out looking for him. The next morning, his girlfriend finds his books and his papers lying in the middle of the street and took him over to his parents' house. The police were searching for Paulo day and night. As night fell on the second day, his father opened the back door to get a breath of fresh air, and there was Paulo, shaky, semi-conscious. Paulo would never be the same again, and he'd never forget what happened. According to Paulo Cino, all during the day of that 23rd, he had heard on and off a mysterious, he described it as a whistling sound. He left his class around 10:30, walked his girlfriend home, and while he was walking back to his house, he saw up in the air a light moving westward, and he felt a shudder. A shudder? I don't think that's a word. A shudder. He shuddered. and then he found himself paralyzed. This light just started to descend, getting closer to him. It stopped about 20, 25 feet away. And there emerged a very short being, quote, with a big head, large eyes, pointed ears, a little mouth, and a small upturned nose, quote, like a pig's. He wore a tight one-piece suit of blue-gray color and an emblem on its chest. Paulo found himself rising up through the air with this little humanoid. They approached a huge, 650-foot reddish-looking, cigar-shaped craft. Paulo had an attack of what he called vertigo as he passed into the craft, where he found himself surrounded by 3 other alien beings. And they took him to a larger room where 6 more of these little humanoids, like the first room, this bit larger room was empty. 6 other little guys are standing around him. It was bright. There's no visible light source.
Before I got into the subject and knew anything about it, I thought that UFOs were a Hollywood convention. I thought that they were made up by Hollywood, the UFO, the class.